Happy to see everyone on my first practical lesson. So we will be practicing our V-Ray maps. So let's see how the maps influence and what do they influence. So let's get let's see. Make a stand what we'll be testing our maps fun. So let's click V-Ray over here and let's make a teapot. And let's make a bit of sun. Okay, yes, over here. Sky. So, okay. Let's select it over here and make an instance copy of it. Let's click specify sun node. Let's click none. And let's click sun. And we've got a sun linked to the sky. And we'll get a physically correct sun and sky. So the color will be dependent on the position of the sun. Okay, and let's get some materials on it. So far we have a bunch of defaults. So let's use, I want to go pretty fast. Okay. Go to scene converter here. And they all are now V-Ray materials. Let's make them a bit brighter. Okay, and we forgot ourselves a camera. So let's get a camera over here. Okay, let's lift it up a bit. Let's click C here. And activates the view of the camera. So after Shift F, we get to see what we will be rendering. So this window here, and its sizes, common output sizes. So I'll put 220 here, 320 that is. That's our first size, and this. And just for the sake of the example, let's try this. Okay, we'll get an independent projection window here, which won't be affected by the real resolution. Okay, let's go 800 by 600. Click this. Okay, parallel. Make it parallelly changing. Okay, let's go Shift F over here. Click on the teapot. Let's get a segment. Let's select the zoom. Let's upscale it a bit. Make it a bit lower. So here we've got it set. Let's set up our render parameters. So let's get our GAI going. So I'll go with these. First and second, brute force light cache. I probably won't be changing any of the other parameters. I'll go to image filter, and let's check out what we get. Okay, it's rendering. Okay. So we get a bit of defects. I am holding the right mouse button and looking at the pixel values. Okay, 255 in value means it's white. It means it's an overburn that we don't need. Let's make the sun a bit higher. And now these overburns are more visible. And the whole scene is absolutely white. So to change this, to correct it, so we go to select color mapping, and go to burn value, and change it. The gamma is by default 2 and 2. Okay, we go here, done that. So we've got our burn value, and now we don't have any overburns. We can make it a bit more contrast. So after this, we fixed the error, and it starts being a matter of taste. So now we can work with the map. So you go to Vary Sky. Okay, done this. Edit it. You can add some turbidity. I'll prefer to set it a bit higher and see what we get. Okay, so the first thing you see the color. It's kind of a disgusting yellow. And now we go to 10. We make it smaller. Okay, 0, 0, 1. Okay, now it got a bit bluer. Let's go to custom balance to check this out. And just check out white here. Okay, now it's blue. Click 10. Okay, and it gets kind of green. Okay, let's go with turbidity here. Now it's 10. So now you get a bit less light from the sun, and the shadows are kind of warm. Okay, so the sun has even a lesser effect now after we have these changes done. So after we got turbidity, we got to the intensity multiplier. Okay, and now let's make it maximize it a bit. So as you see, compared to the beginning, the sun is kind of red, hot. Okay, let's go to the overall general view. So here's 0, 0, 1. Since there is no ozone here, okay, we've got to make it smaller a bit. So since there's no ozone, the sun is very bright, and it gets kind of a bluish tint to it. So as more ozone we get, we set, that is. Let's make just a copy to have to see. Okay, got one copy over here. So we've changed the ozone, but it didn't really affect our picture all that much. But the sun seems to be a bit brighter. And when you want more blue stuff, you lower the turbidity and higher the ozone and vice versa. Okay, so this is the settings you want if you want the other way effect. So sun intensity multiplier is, well, it multiplies the sun intensity. Okay. So now the sun is a bit more powerful. Okay, sky color here, 10. And now you got this whole bunch of overburns. Okay, sometimes if you really need it, you can set it up to 2. Sun size multiplier is more commonly used on the sun itself. Okay. Sun filter color is usually left untouched. Okay. Let's check out this kind of models of sky we have. Okay, clear. Make a copy here. Okay. So this one here, the first ones give a slightly more blue color to it. That's kind of skyish color. This first and second, okay, this one is more blue. Overcast. It's a mess. It's the lower parameter of overcast. So you can also parallelly change the value of sky. Okay. So you can make the shadows a bit more washed here. We can also make it less stricter, so less strict imaging, and make the intensity a bit lower. Okay, let's make the sun a bit higher. Okay, let's make it even a bit more washed. So we want it to be a kind of a sad day. So okay, this is our sad teapot here. And these are the effects of the sky. And if this were to be an interior, you could always use some additional lights for additional highlights. Okay. Intensity. So we can, I'll once again say that we'll be better changing it on the sky itself. Sun invisible over here. Better to use what's related to the sky here. Over class clear. Okay, or this freehand. So how much the sun influences the light on a surface dependent on its depends on its power and position. So let's go for our maps. Okay, 5, 1 here, there. And after a bit more testing, we'll get to the maps. Okay, seems all right. Now let's get the map work going. So it's V-Ray color to bump. And let's check out how it works. This is our displacement map. So, okay, bump filter. So I'll check this map out. I won't put it at a very high value. Okay, bump filter here. Displace over here. Okay. Okay, let's put this to 0. And check out what we get now. So let's click this button to get the important stuff rendered. Okay. So you got the textures on the teapots, and let's check out the results. So I wouldn't say there's much of a difference between the displace and BMP filter. Big of a difference. So, so I'd prefer using V-Ray displacement in interior design work. Well, it's a bit different still. Slightly different interpolation, but they are almost the same. So we won't be working with this kind of map. So it might be better working on maps like maps made in ZBrusher. But currently, so far, I don't see a radical difference. Okay, map. Let's go to V-Ray color. Make a gamma here. Let's put 2 and 2. And just make some rendering here. This is the fun. The back side of it. Let's make the plane. Okay. Let's make a color, and this so we get the color that we have chosen. So you can set other values, different values by channel, selected by hand, and there are multipliers. And this parameter here, the alpha, which changes to 1. So often this channel is used for selecting one particular color. I wouldn't say that I have noticed significant pros in working in this map. Okay. So sometimes they set V-Ray color and make it a bit bluish. And when working with physical cam and cameras, this variation is often quite common. But we might encounter that in our practical interior design course. So we also have V-Ray color to bump. Discard all map here. And just switch it here to an instance copy and swap it. Okay, change this one here. Like this one. And create a second instance of the teapot. So let's create the same kind of map, this one. The same map as we've used before. And make an ordinary bump here through the map. V-Ray color to bump here, and V-Ray bump. 30 the same. Color to bump. Okay. $20. Okay, one material for this teapot. So left we have okay, teapot it up. Since this copy isn't one material, so we have a color 2 bump in the low. So we've kind of overdid it with the value on the right. Let's make it 2 here. Okay, 1 there. And let's make it okay, the bump a bit lower. So here it's about the same. So I wouldn't say there's that big of a difference. However, some things are different, but I wouldn't say drastically. Okay, let's put it a higher value. And check out how our bump works. So in higher values, they are also quite similar. Okay, so V-Ray color 2 bump might be a bit lighter. So since there isn't that much of a difference, I'd probably stick to working with the normal maps. Okay, let's choose some more maps and see them. Okay, now let's go with V-Ray bump filter displays. So the difference between the main displays. Okay. V-Ray color, V-Ray color to bump. It has a additional bump map. But these ones, these three, we won't be using. So Comtex, we will use it together with V-Ray Dirt. So let's do this. Let's make a box. Okay, the composition. So that's the composition we're going to be working with. So a couple of crossing boxes. Let's make the zoom a bit lower. Okay. And let's okay, guess vertical tilt over here. And the first slot will be V-Ray Dirt. Copy. I'll just make a copy. So let's set this value here. Just look at the parameters we get. Okay, 5 millimeters, 10 millimeters. Let's go to the camera view. It's 3 millimeters here. 10 millimeters. A plus B. A plus B. So A plus B is the addition of pixel values, and where they are added together, you cannot set more than 255. So where it's more, it goes white. So you get some additional dirt. Okay, let's get this here. You can do some subs. Okay. Can do this here. And you can get what we are doing here. And the second dirt that is, okay, let's see the difference here. So subtract. Okay, let's see the most interesting one there is. Okay, let's see how they are both multiplied. Okay. We can notice how they are multiplied easily. So this is probably the most interesting option for testing. Okay. Let's just try some divisions. So let's see what divide does. So the dirts have excluded each other. Okay, AB here, minimum. And choose maximum. So you don't get much of an effect. Okay, so dirt multiply gives us this effect. The base that we can try the testing different materials. So let's do some normal inversions. So that will get first dirt. Okay. Okay, let's just do the dirt settings here. So, and try how we can try exploring how we can use dirt later on. So let's set one kind of dirt here. Okay, 5. And this is the effect we are getting. So by default, it works on all sorts of crossing of edges. But we have our invert normal going. And it is now on the edges of our model. Okay, distribution 5. This is the makes it more intense, closer to the triangular edges, the peaks. Make a copy of it. Okay, 0, 0, 1. Okay, so as you see, dirt's a lot wider. Distribution. Okay, follow. Okay. Dirt is only on the counter lines. Oh, let's make it a bit bigger. So, and now this is the effect you have once you've, it's a bit kind of washed. Okay, and let's try to get how it looks like without these parameters. Okay, we don't have the dirt effect here. So if you want a more strict kind of border here, you just multiply the distribution and uncall the color. Just increase it. Okay, let's check out the subdivs. Okay, let's set it to 50. It's going to take a bit longer to render. So as you see, our dirt has become smoother, softer. Okay, it's nicer to the eye. Okay, so let's move the dirt along the axis. Okay. So let's see how moving by axis moves. Okay, let's move it here. Dirt by the y-axis. So you get your dirt moved to one side. So let's move it by 20. So you just move this here. And this is what you do if you want stronger dirt towards the roof. And you can use it to any fashion you wish in. So you can make it darker. Well, see, this is very useful for if you want to kind of get a dark cement color. So let's continue exploring. Okay, alpha effect is for alpha. Okay, so GI is responsible whether the dirt is used in GI. So we've turned it out, turned it off. So this is how it looks like with the effects turned here. So it gives you additional bumps. But since it's turned off, you shouldn't touch it all that much. So let's go to normal and explore this one here. Consider same object only. So this makes it sure that it works only on one object and doesn't touch the other. So as you see, you should look closely what happened to the edge now. So let's try making a figure here. So dirt, you have dirt working inside of the figure, but it does not work on the crossing of the two boxes. So since dirt is turned on by default, it will be turned on. You'll get the dirt. And where you don't need it, you won't have it. So the consider same only object works only on complete objects. So say this was part of the other object and it would too be affected. It was if it was extruded. Okay, let's delete our former actions and work with transparency. What does work transparency give us? So now we've done the translucency. So let's check out how the environment occlusion is working. So with invert normal on, we don't see really any dirt on the edges. But there's a bit of occlusion on the triangles, on the corners, that is. So when working with interior design, we won't really be interested. So we'll do it a bit less of it. So we're gonna do we're gonna delete the boxes. So since we're gonna be doing mode and reflection occlusion here, for this, we better look at how it works on the circle. So, as you see, just as in Phong, the rays don't spread out drastically, even if we set it to higher. So let's set it to 8. This is what we get here. Okay, 205. And this is the new effect here. And let's turn the values. Okay, now that we've adjusted the values, the occlusion, the font. Okay. Let's set it to 0.5. Let's do all to 0.5 and check how dirt is working. So how the rays will be working, that is. It's the second line option. Okay, let's go to the ward. Check out how it works. And this is the effect we have with ward. So this is, the left is dirt occlusion. And the Fong has this huge spread, and the rest, the area of the spread is drastically lower. It's much centered. I don't really know what we can use this for right now. So usually we'll be using ambient occlusion. So just that we want this to happen. Okay, this is what we want to, just in case this is the regime we'll have left. Okay, let's go with the radios. Let's go with noise and make it a bit more contrast. Noise. Okay, this little thing here tells us if you want to include or the final result or not. So you want the explicit map channel. Okay. So on the texture, we're going to reduce the texture here a bit. So I'll put it to 0.05. And we got a bit of noise here. So let's make shaded. And this is the real value of the shaded, that the noise that we'll have on the radar. So okay, let's do it a bit more. Okay, let's make it a bit more contrastive. Add a bit of contrast here. And now let's try to render it. And as you see, our dirt has began to coloring into the color of the noise. So where we had black, we have the occluded color, and where we have white, we have the black gone. So let's have a different map on. Okay, let's have dirt. Have a small dirt here. Blur. Okay, summed area. Yes, we just wanted, this is necessary for having a stricter texture. Okay. Have dirt smalt here. Okay. Let's see what we got here. So say this is a roof made of cement. We would have here made some additional geometry on the top. We have dirt here, and we don't have any here. We can do this along any other line. Okay, dirt on the front part is available too. Okay. So by this, you can increase how much dirt you get on any of on any projection you possibly wish. And you can make your map occluded. And so say it's cement. So what if it's a dark, dirty green? And let's try doing this. Like cement or concrete? Okay. Let's change this to 10. Okay, let's do it to the top. And you got this here kind of semi-rust, have semi-grown kind of grown uh, grass effect, the parasitic kind of grass. So what if you wanted to have some kind of a leakage effect? But I do hope you have got the main idea. Okay, you've got you've got some underneath, but on the back downside, but not quite as much. Okay, we have some occlusions. It's independent from the occlusion. So this, okay. So it's the reflection glossiness here. Okay, exclude. Let's see how exclude works. Here we have box removed from dirt. So the influences, we don't have any influence of the map. So let's see how dirt works inside of an object. So let's get rid of these maps here. We've just tested them and looked at them. Okay, let's exclude them. Okay. So let's remove the movement along the z-axis. So we have dirt that allows us to experiment. So, for example, we can write something ourselves. Let's go to text, max text, and make it a bit smaller. Let's give it a bit of extrude. So we want it to be slightly filled and turn it to the camera. Let's reflect it and see how it works. Since the object is quite far away, well, from the back, from the wall, okay, let's make it a bit closer and change the number of its radios. So we can only add definition by in scaling in, but you do see the text. So you can underline some stuff made on the counters and the billboards. And you can also draw on the texture itself. And this is all about the dirt. It's a pretty rich instrument. It does offer you a lot of stuff. And you can honestly spend quite a lot of time testing it. So you can actually spend several days just playing around with dirt. And let's continue. Let's continue looking at what V-Ray maps offer us. So that we've used V-Ray edge text here. So that's what we define the color of our net by. So they take the diffuse color and the net that is on the object is colored by this parameter. Okay, hidden edges here. It gives us, well, it gives us the hidden edges that you don't usually see. And you have world units here. Or you can go by pixel. I'll just get at that. Okay, and here's by pixel. This can be used if you're doing some sort of net. Or say you have your own original features in the design. Say you have an object that is colored corners on the edges and corners, so for black and down corners, this might be interesting to you. However, I would advise doing this stuff with the geometry and coloring later on. Okay, V-Ray edges text. It's more of a fun instrument. AGI will be later on. Ray map. just take all of our stuff and use them. So let's take the teapot. Let's make it a bit smaller. Okay. Let's make it in the center. Make it a reflex. So, okay. We didn't get any reflections. So our map here reflects. So let's see if we have any reflect now. Okay. Let's see what we have. V-Ray map. Let's add this. Let's remove this. And let's check what we don't have. Sometimes we have this problem that the material gets unset and all of these checks have to be reset. Okay, reflections. Let's see what we have. That V-Ray. So now we're getting the reflections we have long waited for. Let's check out subdivs. Let's see what we have in the ordinary materials. We have glossy. Okay. We have glossy, where glossy works in the same fashion when we reduce values. So it's better to use glossy on the material itself. Let's go with now that we've gotten a blick. Okay, Fresnel. We can put up some values in it. Test the material. So we've gotten to understand how V-Ray map works for the reflection. Not all that much. Functions on it. Let's try doing a refraction and do the refracts. Reflection. Okay. So let's add some glass and make it white. Set these values here, 9 here. So this is going to be our IOR. And set the same stuff that we have in the ordinary materials. And just have a look at what we got. So we got a black kind of thing here. We've got a glass kind of teapot. However, we could have made this without V-Ray map. So let's try making another one nearby. Okay, let's make some glass. Buy the usual things we can. The V-Ray instruments. Let's make white here. So it might not seem quite see-through. So what we do is, okay, we set these parameters over here. So 514 here. 0.9 over here. Okay, let's set the reflections here. We won't have much reflections though. Okay. Check what we've got. Okay, let's check what we've got now that we've set these parameters. Let's render. So the one with V-Ray map does look better. However, we are getting shadows for some unknown reason. So let's look at how it works. We don't have any check for the shadows. So how do we solve this? We just have to test this. Test this particular material. And we'll get the same result. So some less reflection. It is a bit too bright. Let's make this a bit smaller. So we've got the reflection a bit decreased. So the materials haven't changed all that much, and we're still getting the reflection. The same reflection. So as you see, we can use the V-Ray for the glass. But at the same time, there. Let's go do some VFrac to get rid of the shadow. And now that we've used VFract, let's see what we are doing. So we have 100 value here. So V-Ray map is fully being used. And 0 here. And a completely white kind of color there. And as a result, we get a completely different material. Let's try making it black. Let's do some experiments and check it out. So there doesn't seem to be much of a change, but V-Ray didn't understand, since it's completely clear. We get some shadows effects over there, and the shadows are generally less lighter, just lighter, that is. So glass can be done with V-Ray map, but we should check out how it works in the interior. So it's still under question, should we use V-Ray or not? Okay. And after refraction, I believe we did get a fairly nice result. So what is here done by the standard, it does look worse. And V-Ray gives us a nice result. And this is pretty much all on V-Ray map. After refracts, we've got that shadow off. So let's do some further experiments on our teapot. Okay. So we have multi-sub texture, but we'll look at that in a different object. Let's go to plane. Let's divide it in 4 by 4. Okay, let's go with scale. Let's make some manipulations. Make a split. Let's go with inset here, inset by polygon. An automatic polygon. And let's make shell. So I made 16 objects, which we will be testing upon. Testing our texture. Okay. Face material here. Okay. ID by object. So we have this kind of gradient here, and let's change the colors. So, okay, 2. Okay, black. Okay. So 16 here. We've made 16 objects, 16 different colors. And let's check out how it works now. So every polygon has its own set ID, ID by material. So if we get them to an object, we can give it a 1. Okay, this will go second, 4th, 5th, and this is how it goes. Okay, this one. So we'll do the first 8 right now. Just setting their IDs. And just check out how the render goes. So, and here's how our render works. So you can get some tile, and with this done, you can use this for tiles and stuff. And you can spread them out this way. Another way is you have this instrument material element, material by element, so you count 16, and it spreads all by itself. However, it is a bit chaotic. So 16 means there are 16 IDs. You can make it 18. We don't have indices to be limited, I believe. Okay, let's make 16. So material by element. So there's 8 materials. You want to do that? So okay, I didn't set the parameters then. So since we didn't set the percentage, sometimes we have 2 colors nearby and sometimes we have 1 color nearby. So it depends on the type of spread, how it's spread. So say you can get your floor and just add up a lot of textures, and then you can spread your textures rather than colors. So you can do some spreading by ID. So what I'll do right now is I'll make this here, detach. I got 4 objects detached. Okay, let's double that. And every object will have their own ID. So you go into Object Properties, and object ID. You go to 1, object property 2, property 3, and stop. Okay, let's check out what we've got. So as you see, the rest of the material that don't have a... Okay, this is our default material. They are gone black. Okay, the material that have an ID, they have their colors set, and you can experiment and find ways how to use this. It's pretty interesting. I wouldn't say it's exactly commonly used, but we'll get to that in our practical lessons. So what else do we have? We have normal map. So this one is necessary for uploading the normals. Okay, normal map. Okay, let's get ourselves a brick. 1 by 1. 2 by 2, that is. Normal map. I got this diffuse. White, so let's get it a white brick. So normal map. Normal map by 100. Okay, so you vary it how you can. So you won't get this kind of with normal bump. And it's hard to do by displace. So it's only correct when you have light. But you do have some sort of a feeling of volume. So in V-Ray displace, we will get better visibility, but V-Ray normal map does sometimes help you during work. Okay, and you have your map channel parameter here. This seems to be about all in your normal map settings, and it is a very useful kind. So what V-Ray offers us here is for our interiors. Seems about to be all. It is, we have looked in V-Ray sky. Okay, V-Ray sun. So how ozone layer works. Okay. So Um, okay, so I'd also recommend preferring editing the sun on the sun parameters. Okay. We have looked at how V-Ray Dirt works. Tried how to work. Tried all of its parameters. So we tried to work with the radios. So fellow, we look at the distribution, look at the widening, and we've looked at how consider same object works, how it stops non-wanted crossing effects, how you can prevent unnecessary influences by other objects. Sadly, we didn't get to working with transparency, but it's not used too much. We use environment occlusion. We looked at most of the types, which we looked at ambient occlusion, okay? And we've used done some object work, excluding object work. So we've also refracting and V-Ray map. We have had some considerable successes with that. Okay. That's the main summary of what maps we have had. So when we get to V-Ray map later on, and this seems to be all about the textures. So we'll have some homework done on the textures. And we'll get to material testing during our next lesson. Thank you for watching. Best